You know what I love about 500 level tournaments? When both Sinner and Alcaraz play them. And ideally, when there are two 500s going on at the same time and they play separate ones. And the reason why I love this because there's a scenario where both Sinner and Alcaraz can win the tournament simultaneously. Because as much as I love watching these guys play, I've said this many times, it might sound very cliche, but I like both of these guys equally and I want both of them to win. They're fantastic for the game and they are clearly the best players in the world, well separated from the rest of the tour. So let's start with Sinner winning Beijing. And there were some interesting matches. I reported on his first three matches in Beijing in my Monday morning tennis rant. And he continued to serve well in the semifinals and the finals. So the semifinals against Alex de Minaur was such a phenomenal match, especially that second set that Alex won was so spectacular. Featured so many incredible rallies, especially that rally at 3-all in the second set. Sinner had won the first set 6-3, and he found himself up a break point on the de Minaur serve. And this rally was so insane. If you haven't seen it, go back and watch it or catch a highlight of it. It looked like tennis from another planet. And for all you guys that think that Alex de Minaur doesn't have any power, just go ahead and watch that rally. He was ripping the ball so hard. And of course, Sinner was doing the same. And this rally went on forever and ended with Alex de Minaur hitting a winner. And there's two ways you can think about this particular point. You can say that Alex won a super important point by playing spectacular tennis. He's going to draw confidence from that point and possibly give himself chances to win the match. Or you could look at it this way. If he has to do what he did on that point, he's going to have a hard time winning matches against Sinner. But respect to de Minaur, he played a phenomenal second set, and for the second time in his career, he took a set off of Sinner. He's now 0-11 against him, but he again proved the caliber of player that he is. He ended up breaking the Sinner serve up 5-4 with another spectacular rally. What makes champions great is they can bounce back quickly. And what Sinner did in the third set reminded me of a prime Djokovic. So he lost his serve to lose the second set, and then right away he broke Alex to love and got a break in the third set. And it is here where he started serving extremely well and basically blew de Minaur off the court. Now, the second semifinal was very interesting because it featured a match that happened at the Australian Open in the first round between Tien and Medvedev. I will say this about Medvedev. He was wronged in this match. He had this match firmly in his hands. Up 7-5 and a break at 4-2. He loses his serve. Then he breaks again. He's up 5-3. So plenty of chances to win this match, but he ends up losing a really tight second set 7-5. He started cramping early in the third. And obviously, with cramps, Medvedev wasn't trying to get certain balls. And the umpire made a huge mistake because he gave Medvedev a warning for best effort as if Medvedev was tanking this match, which he clearly wasn't. He was cramping, and the ATP issued a statement that there will be no fines against Medvedev and that there was indeed an error from the umpire. So Medvedev was in the right here. And there was a lot of arguing whether Medvedev was right at the US Open. And I made a video dedicated to that first round match. And I do believe that Medvedev owes his loyal fans an apology for his behavior. After that US Open loss where he behaved very poorly in a very unsportsmanlike manner, that was a well-deserved loss that he suffered against Bonzi. He needs to apologize and own up to some of the mistakes that he's made. The whole world is not against him as it appears when you watch Medvedev play. He needs to apologize to his fans because I do think that he lost a lot of fans with that match. He did make some changes with his coaching staff. He basically replaced his entire team. And he did play a good tournament, beating Zverev 3-3, making the semifinals, giving himself chances to get into a 500 final. So he's playing better. But I do believe that he has to own up to the mistakes that he's made at the US Open to win some of the fans back. And I do believe that that's going to help him to play better. When you own up to your mistakes, I think that generally can help players to make improvements and start performing better. But now let's focus on learner Tien. And I've talked about him earlier this year, where Fonseca was talked about a lot in the beginning of the year, where he was playing extremely well. And so was Tien. And at that point in time, I thought that Fonseca had more potential. But I am so impressed with the improvements that Tien has made in a very short amount of time. I'm not sure if he was just playing more freely in this Beijing tournament, but I reported on the match in the first round against Djokovic at the US Open, and Tien did not play as well as he could have from a mental standpoint and from a tactical standpoint against Djokovic that was struggling physically. But whatever he's done in this time between the US Open and Beijing, he is hitting the ball harder than I've ever seen him hit, and he's playing way more aggressive. Now, the only thing that is going to make it tough for him to beat the big guys on tour, Djokovic, Sinner, and Alcaraz, is his serve. And for a lefty, he could be serving better. Now, I'm not saying that he needs to be one of the best servers in the world to give himself chances to challenge the top guys. But if you compare his lefty serve to Nadal's serve, he needs to utilize his lefty serve a little bit more to his advantage and maybe slice more and make his serve more uncomfortable. In the final against Sinner, it was clear to me that he was going to have very low chances because Sinner is the best returner on planet Earth, and he was going to break Tien multiple times in this match. And Sinner is serving better in this tournament. In Sinner's semifinal win, his first serve percentage was 64%, and he ramped it up a little bit more in the final and finished with 66% first serves in and also delivered 10 aces. So with Sinner's serve clicking, there's not much opponents can do against Sinner because at times it appears that Sinner is unplayable. Of course, there's only one guy that knows how to beat Sinner at the top of his level. So before we focus in on Alcaraz, I want to touch upon the Sinner serve, and I've spent a lot of time looking at his serve technique because he is working on something. There are serve changes, but they're so subtle, and I'm having a hard time seeing exactly what is different. I got my hands on some better match footage, and the serve does look slightly different. There's possibly a lengthening of the lag, but ever so slightly, and he might be holding his loading position just a tad longer on the new serve. So there's a subtle change. Maybe there will be a bigger change as he continues to work on it. But in any case, Sinner served a lot better in Beijing than he did at the US Open or even in Cincinnati. So when the serve clicks, Sinner appears, quite frankly, to be unbeatable. And there's only one guy that knows how to beat a top-level Sinner, and that's Carlos Alcaraz. And it's so interesting because a lot of you guys were saying that the Laver Cup was just an exhibition and that this win did not matter for Fritz at all. And I completely disagree. I do think that the Laver Cup is for sure not an exhibition, and Carlos Alcaraz does want to win those matches. But the chances of beating Carlos Alcaraz in a final, let's say compared to an earlier round match, are lower. So the most difficult time to beat Carlos Alcaraz is at the end stage of a tournament, and especially at the end stage of the most important tournaments. Those are facts. And for that reason, I picked Carlos Alcaraz to beat Taylor Fritz in my latest Monday morning rant. And what Taylor said after he had beaten Alcaraz at the Laver Cup is that in the first 3 times that they played, he lost his very first service game. And he ended up holding at the Laver Cup after facing some break points. And in this match, Taylor started very strong. He held the first game and had a break point chance on Alcaraz's first service game. But Alcaraz was so tough in this first set and got out of trouble in a couple of service games. He ended up breaking the Fritz serve at 4-all, served the set out. And early in the second, Carlos Alcaraz ramped it up even more with his intensity and broke Fritz right away. And he was overall playing with a lot more variety than he did at the Laver Cup. He was throwing in a lot of drop shots. He was doing the drop shot lob combo, which is for sure the best on the ATP Tour. Nobody does it like Carlitos. And I did not think that Taylor played a poor match, but Alcaraz was just that much sharper, more aggressive, more focused compared to the Laver Cup match where he didn't play a good match. Now, Carlos Alcaraz got 2 breaks in the second set, was up 5-2, and Fritz clawed back and made this match very interesting. He broke Alcaraz, and it was now 5-4 Alcaraz serving for the match. And something very interesting happened because Carlos Alcaraz in this game hit 3 drop shot winners to serve out this match and win the Tokyo title. And this game did get interesting because he did the first drop shot on the very first point, got up 15-love. Then Fritz got a couple of points. It was 30-all, and Alcaraz hit a backhand down the line drop shot winner. and then he hit another one forehand inside out, which is his favorite one, to win the match. So 3 drop shots in one game. And I checked out the comments section underneath the highlight video of this match, and people were of course praising Carlos Alcaraz and saying that his tennis IQ is through the roof. And I 100% agree. Carlos Alcaraz has the best drop shot in the world, and this was a very smart game that he played at 5-4 for Carlos Alcaraz, that is. Now, if another player attempted to hit 3 drop shots when trying to serve out the match, especially hitting a drop shot at 30-all off the first ball in the rally from behind the baseline, this can go extremely wrong, where a player might end up getting broken and possibly ends up losing the match. So this makes a lot of sense for Carlos Alcaraz, but it doesn't necessarily make sense for a lot of other players, especially ones that don't have a lot of feel and don't practice a lot of drop shots. But nevertheless, this guy is a blessing for the game of tennis. His feel is out of this world. He's so fun to watch, but so is Sinner. And like I said in the beginning, it's fun to watch these guys play separate tournaments and win separate tournaments simultaneously. Now, Carlos Alcaraz did something very smart. In my Monday morning tennis rant, I talked about my worry about Carlos overplaying and scheduling too many exhibitions and too many tournaments. And he did hurt himself in the first round of Tokyo against Baez, and he was feeling some discomfort for the rest of the tournament. So he smartly pulled out of Shanghai. So while we're going to miss out on Alcaraz possibly reaching another final, he's on absolute fire. This is the new Alcaraz. He's the king of consistency right now. This was a smart choice. He's going to rest up his ankle, and he's going to be ready to play the Paris Masters. Sinner, on the other hand, seems to be chasing the number 1 ranking. And one thing that I will say about Sinner's ranking is that he did miss a big chunk of the season. And we can speculate now who would be number 1 right now if Sinner had played those tournaments earlier this year that he missed. But nevertheless, he still has a mathematical chance to finish the year number 1, and he put in an extra tournament into his schedule. So Sinner is going to play Shanghai, and then he's going to play the indoor tournament in Vienna, which is a 500. So if Sinner wins 3 consecutive tournaments, he will go back to number 1, but he of course has to defend the ATP finals, which is going to be a very interesting tournament regarding Alcaraz. I do think that he has the capabilities of performing really well on a fast indoor court, and the ATP finals are rated as a fast indoor court surface. So the end of the year is going to be super exciting. We still don't know who's going to be number 1. We have one of my favorite tournaments of the year, which is the Paris Masters. And I'm sure both Alcaraz and Sinner are going to look to get their first title indoors in Paris. So a lot of great things to look forward to. And I'm going to report on a lot of these tournaments, and I'm going to see you guys in the next video. Hey guys, help this video out in the algorithm and give it a like. Also subscribe to Intuitive Tennis and check out Intuitive Tennis Premium at intuitivetennis.com, or find the Intuitive Tennis app on the iOS App Store.